A worker clocked out and touched the drilling pipe. His hand came back wet. Mud before he could move, more started leaking out. Then it exploded through the blowout preventer and knocked everyone down. He radioed control. Too late. Mud shot up like a geyser and blew the valve clean off. Everyone on deck got slammed to the ground. Control shut the annular preventer. The valve inside the pipe clamped shut and stopped the flow. But the crisis wasn't over. Pressure was still building below. The pipe tech had 30 seconds to open the drill pipe and bleed off the pressure. He did it. The mud stopped. But this was just the warm-up. 2.5 days earlier, everything looked normal. Jimmy landed on the rig. He was the safety inspector for the whole platform. The mud testing crew was packing up to leave. That didn't make sense. They were supposed to be running tests on the seafloor right now. Jimmy never got the mud test results. Someone skipped the inspection to start drilling early. He was responsible for 126 lives on this rig. He needed answers. Mike went to the workdeck and asked the drilling crew. Every worker said the same thing. No mud test ever happened. Then he checked the control room. Jensen finally told him the truth. BP paid the testing crew to leave early, so they could start production ahead of schedule. Mike reported it to Jimmy. They agreed to confront the BP executives together. A disaster was already forming beneath them. They found the BP supervisor. BP was renting this rig. The drilling schedule was already 43 days behind. The delay had cost them over $50 million in rental fees alone. So they cut the safety protocols to save money. Jimmy refused to let it slide. He worked for BP, but he wouldn't risk lives. He demanded a pressure test. The supervisor backed down. The platform rotated into position for the test. Jensen shut the blowout preventer. The pipe valve closed underwater. Mud started rushing through at high speed. The negative pressure test was live. The supervisor watched the gauge nervously. If the test failed, BP would lose millions more. After 15 minutes, the pressure stabilized at 100 psi. That was safe. The supervisor acted like he'd won, but he didn't know what was happening below. Gas bubbles erupted from the seafloor. The gauge spiked to 500 psi instantly. It kept climbing. Bubbles flooded the pipe. The needle crossed the red line. It hit 1,395 psi. The test had failed catastrophically, but the supervisor pointed out something strange. No mud was leaking anywhere. At that pressure, mud should be shooting everywhere. It made no sense. Jimmy and Mike couldn't explain it either. The supervisor drew a diagram. He claimed the drill pipe sensor was broken, just a pressure pocket triggering a false alarm. He said the pressure wasn't actually high across the whole pipe, just near the sensor. That is why the gauge was maxed out, but nothing was leaking. He wanted another test. This time, test only the kill line. If it reads 0, the sensor is broken. Jimmy let him run the second test below. The shaking got worse. Rock fragments shot up the pipe with the mud at first. Pressure held at 500. Then debris clogged the pipe completely. The kill line gauge dropped to 0. That is what the supervisor wanted to see, but the drill pipe still read 1,395. Those two numbers should match. Jensen tried to stop him, but the supervisor waved it off. He kept insisting that if no mud was leaking, the drill pipe was fine. Jimmy had a bad feeling, but the data was right there. The supervisor kept pushing. Jimmy cleared them to drill. Jensen opened the blowout preventer. The trapped mud surges back up, so the control room rushes to redirect it. They pump out the balance fluid that kept pressure steady, losing their last safety buffer. Minutes later, the pressure gauge spikes into the red again, and it keeps climbing fast. Jensen kills the mud pump fast, and the workers just stare confused. Up top, Diego spots trouble too. That is the opening scene. This deep-sea disaster goes fully out of control right here. The blowout gets contained quick, but the energy under the seabed keeps building. The ring-shaped blowout preventer shatters under the high-pressure rock. Mud roars up the pipe toward the platform. A worker hears the noise and looks. Otherwise, he'd be stuck here. The pressure just blew past 4,000, and that means Judgment Day is next. A second later, mud erupts with crushing force. Jensen orders every blowout preventer shut, but at this pressure, that line only buys a few seconds. The seabed energy has fully erupted now. The preventers he just closed hold for a moment, then the rock smashes them apart. The high-pressure mud is like a solid wall. Diego can't do a single thing. Every attempt fails. Worse, the rock blasting out of the mud flies in every direction like bullets. Jensen tells Diego to get out now. The nearby cargo ship only now notices the blowout in the control room. It is chaos. The endless mud has wrecked everything around it. Jensen tells the crew chief to cut the pipe, but debris slams him to the floor. As Jensen tries to lift him, an even bigger surge of mud hits again. Another worker escapes and sees something worse. The mud blasting out is mixed with crude oil. The flammable gas seeps through the intake into the engine. The engine suddenly speeds up and the whole platform starts shifting. The platform's still linked to the drill pipe below. If it shifts too far, the pipe bends and cracks. The leak only gets worse. Mike, on a video call with his wife, notices something's wrong outside. In the cab, every sensor flashes red. Susan steps out of the power room and looks. She freezes in pure terror, then runs back to call for help. The captain stops her. He sees how bad it is and goes to check, but it is already past saving. Now the captain starts calling for help non-stop. The Coast Guard gets the alert and sees the platform explosion by satellite. The chief rallies nearby rescue units fast, but the rig is way out at sea. Even a rescue plane is 35 minutes out. Forget the fireboats. The rig is already one giant wall of flames. The cargo ship grabs what little gear it has and races a lifeboat toward the burning rig. Jimmy wakes up, hurt. He was in the shower, and now he is bruised all over. He pulls his clothes on and limps out, running straight into Mike searching for survivors. Mike got knocked back by a door earlier but isn't badly hurt. Jimmy wants him to lead the way to the bridge. Jimmy has top clearance. He has to cut the drill pipe to stop the disaster from spreading. On the way, they find more trapped workers and dive into the rescue, but the blasts keep coming. The first group of evacuees is about to board, but overhead the runaway crane keeps slamming the steel frame. If it breaks, everyone in the lifeboat dies. One operator climbs through the flames to reach the crane's cab, but the motor's wrecked and won't respond, so he hits the manual brake by force. He finally steadies the crane, but just as the workers cheer, an explosion hits. They help Jimmy to the console, and he triggers the emergency cutoff. They help Jimmy to the console, and he hits the pipe cutting button. Two huge blades slide out inside the drill pipe to cut it. Then the unthinkable happens. The force of the surge rips the blades to shreds. The cut fails. But Jimmy says they have to restore backup power. It is the only way to hold the platform in place. Otherwise, the drill pipe snaps and the disaster gets far worse. Mike and another worker had no choice but to run through the flames toward the electrical room. Outside was like a burning oven. The heat nearly killed them both before they got inside. Mike followed the startup manual and managed to restore backup power to the rig. But that small fix was nothing compared to the disaster unfolding around them. Another massive explosion knocked them both down, but somehow they made it through alive. Jimmy ran to the lifeboats, only to find the last one had already been lowered. With explosions going off everywhere, they had to get off the platform now or die. Jimmy opened the life raft, told everyone else to get on, and planned to board last. But a sudden blast threw him and Susan to the side. The worker controlling the raft caught fire, panicked, and jumped into the ocean below. The raft dropped without him, and now the sea around them was covered in flames. Jumping straight down meant certain death, so Mike grabbed Susan and ran for higher ground. The higher they climbed, the farther they could jump, so they made their way to the helipad. Behind them, the rig looked like a massive fire-breathing monster, ready to swallow them whole. Mike helped Susan put on a life vest and tried to calm her down, but she was too terrified to jump. So he distracted her with small talk, then shoved her off the edge without warning. Mike jumped right after her into the water. He found Susan in the waves, and a rescue boat picked them both up minutes later. On the cargo ship nearby, Jimmy was calling roll, and several names got no response. Once Mike and Susan were aboard, a rescue helicopter arrived and airlifted the critically injured workers. By then, the entire drilling platform had turned into a blazing hellscape. Back in the city, Mike faced news cameras and grieving families demanding answers. The trauma from what he survived, plus the guilt, left him paralyzed with fear. Then his wife and daughter arrived, and their love started to heal him. No matter what, he was alive, and that was enough. The family walked out together. This film is based on the real 2010 Deepwater Horizon disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. 11 workers died, and the well leaked for 87 days, spilling over 210 million gallons of oil. It became one of the worst environmental disasters in American history. BP ultimately paid $20.8 billion in settlements. It was the largest settlement in U.S. legal history, and the rig supervisor who ignored the warnings was charged with manslaughter, which he absolutely deserved.